So I'm really here to talk about this topic with you today and to share some techniques really and some knowledge with you about connecting with yourself. Of course, it's such a big topic. You know, we could spend an entire day talking about connecting with ourselves and then connecting with others and then connecting with the world. But what I really wanted to do with you today is to hone in with crystal clarity on what it means to connect with yourself. You know, so far, Dr. Oscar has talked a little bit about how you can do that. And, you know, referring to his pillars, which is very, very helpful, particularly with the practices that you can set up every day. And I'm going to build on that a little bit with you and give you some really practical things to take away. Get my whiteboard on. Right. Can you hear me when I talk like this? Great. So, if you think about connection, you can look at it from a number of different levels. Essentially, we've got our connection with the world, we've got our connection with others, and then we've got our connection with ourselves. And really, anything above the line here is external. It's about other people. And what do we know about the things that are external to ourselves?
Out of our control.
Exactly. They are out of our control.
Bad influence.
Yeah. Sorry?
Bad influence.
Bad influence. Is there any point in focusing on this stuff? Not really. They're essentially byproducts of what's happening down here. So if you can put your focus into yourself, your relationships with others, and ultimately your impact on the world are going to be much higher quality and a lot more fun and a lot more valuable for you and for other people. So if we just jump into self here, what I wanted to share was 3 different really psychological tools that you can take away today and implement today that will help you to take a step towards self-connection every single day. Now, the approach to psychology that I use, well, firstly, it is about positive psychology, so I really believe in strengths and focusing on what are we going to do to take you from this level of functioning to a level of flourishing. So I'm not talking about sickness here, I'm talking about meeting you where you're at now and making your life even better. But I also come from the perspective of cognitive behavioural therapy. Who's familiar with that? Great, it's about half of you. So essentially, this is talking about 3 factors that make up your psychology. What happens when you think, when you feel, and when you do. So thinking, feeling, and doing. It's pretty basic stuff, isn't it, when you think about it? But if we break it down this way, it's a really nice way to use your entire psyche in a way that can help you to connect, in addition to all of the self-care stuff that Oscar was talking about. So, let's just quickly cover off the basics: think, feel, and do. Now, what years of research has taught us is that what you think influences how you feel, which influences what you do, which comes around again and influences what you think or how you think. Now, a lot of this stuff happens automatically. We have thoughts all day long. How many thoughts do you think you have in a day?
Thousands.
Thousands. How many thousands? 100,000, 10,000? Depends which research paper you read, but it's around about 60,000.
Oh, exhausting.
Jesus.
Think about that.
Another thought.
All day long, 60,000 different thoughts. Most of them are repeated. They're not new or original. Most of them are the exact same thoughts you had yesterday, probably the day before. So of those, what percentage do you think are negative? That's not a percentage, Sean. What percentage? 100? Depends on the mood, depends on where you're at in your cycle. It's about 60 to 70%.
Oh.
So the vast majority of those thoughts are negative. And you know what? They're mostly automatic. So go easy on yourself. You're not actually doing this, it's happening at an unconscious level. And a lot of those thoughts are not even our own thoughts. You know, you sometimes have in the back of your mind, there's mum saying, I should be married by now. Yeah? One of my mentors referred to this as family FM. And it's like you've got a radio on your head, family FM. Guess what? You can change the channel. And let's talk about that. How do you change the channel? How do you short circuit this process here? Because this is what gives you the power and the capacity to connect back with yourself. Because when you are operating on negative automatic thoughts all day long, what happens to yourself?
Feel like shit.
Absolutely. And what level of connection can you have with yourself when you
Not
feel
much.
like that? It's almost impossible. So these little guys, these little thoughts that are just constantly happening, so we've got 60,000 of them and over half of those are negative or even neutral, but you know, not really doing much to help you out in life. What happens if all of those thoughts lead to emotions? What are those feelings you're having all day long based on all of those negative thoughts?
Deflating.
Deflating, negative, depressed, anxious, frustrated. All those feelings that are part of the human condition, this is where they come from. So the secret I want to share with you today is that we actually have some control over stopping them. It's simple, but it's not easy. Simple, not easy. Two very different things. So it's a simple process that I'm going to share with you and demonstrate for you. But it's not easy because we've got 30, 40, 50, 60 years of practicing it the wrong way or the other way. You know, our brains are hardwired to focus on the negative. We know this about ourselves. It's a survival technique. You know, when we were back in the caveman, cavewoman years, all we had to do was focus on looking for threats in our environment. That was our job. We had to keep ourselves and our families safe. And so our brains still think very much that way. We are wired to look for threats. And to a certain degree, that's normal. But when you get into a mode, and certainly, you know, we were talking this morning about depletion and fatigue and so on, when you get into those states and when you are sleep deprived as well, it's very easy to stay in those negative loops. And it's a spiral, isn't it? It's so hard to get it out of once you start, which is why it's so important to find a way to nip it in the bud here before it gets to here or here. So the technique that I want to share with you is called reframing. All right, it's called reframing, so I'm literally creating a frame here for you. Okay, here's the scenario. This morning, you woke up. Sorry, blokes in the room. You got your period. It was unexpected. Ouch! Mess, gross, feel fat, disgusting. All of those things start happening for you, okay? That happens. You get out of bed, step on the cat. Oh, cat screams. You feel like death because you've stepped on your cat. Find your way to the bathroom, get into the shower, switch it on. Cold water all over you, absolutely freezing. Get the shampoo on your hair, head full of suds, run out of water. Shit, what am I going to do? Okay, go into the kitchen. It's breakfast time. Get your cereal out, still half asleep, pour the milk on top. The milk's off. The smell of off milk fills the kitchen, fills your head. Ugh, feeling like crap. Anyway, throw on some clothes, get in the car. By this point, how are you feeling?
Angry.
Angry, frustrated. Okay, those are the feelings you're bringing into the car. You get into the car, start driving here for your morning. Before you know it, you've hit another car. Okay, let's assume that throughout this morning, you've got a negative frame on. So it's a bit like a negative lens. You're looking at this morning and all of its events through a negative mindset. Yell out for me, what are some of the things you would think or say to yourself?
Fuck that.
Fuck that. What else?
Seriously.
Seriously? I don't say that word, and if you watch Married at First Sight, you'd know that.
What is it? What was the word?
See you next Tuesday.
Oh, no, see you next Tuesday.
What else might you say? You've had a little crash. I'm over it. What else? Get me a drink. Not that we drink and drive. What else? I'm useless. Absolutely. That negative self-talk comes out, doesn't it? What's one more? Give up. I give up. Right. So these are all thoughts or cognitions. So you're sending messages to yourself through these things that you're telling yourself. Now, what we know is that thoughts lead to the feelings. So if you're telling yourself this stuff, what feelings are coming up for you? What do you feel? Anxiety. What else? Pardon? Can we be more specific? What kind of emotion? Sadness. Anger. Beautiful. One more. Stress? Okay. So you're now feeling all of these things. You're angry, you're anxious, you're sad, you're feeling helpless, and you're incredibly stressed. What actions do you take at the car accident based on this emotional state? What things might you do? Cry, swear, road rage, scream. Sorry, what was that one? Start talking to invisible people. That's a different situation. You might start talking rudely to people. Yeah, exactly. What, in this state, what are the chances that you would take a photo of the stuff that happened to the car, get their license plate, pull out your insurance details, exchange numbers, talk about next steps? Exactly. When you are in this state, you lose the capacity to think rationally. You actually can't. So this is the fight or flight situation, isn't it? When you think about those words, what's going on here, and what the research shows us is that when you're in that state and the stress hormone, cortisol, is going, what happens to your thinking? Irrational and really narrow. So again, that goes back to the caveman, cavewoman days where you needed to block out all other distractions for survival. But in this situation, that means you don't have the capacity to think this through and problem solve and make decisions in a rational way. We call it your executive functioning. So if you imagine the little executive in your head trying to make decisions, not able to do it because there's too much stress, anxiety, you're flooded. But let's say you woke up this morning, all the same events happened, but this time you had a positive frame of mind. You hit the other car. This time, what might you say to yourself? I'm alive. Shit happens. Yep, I have insurance. New car, opportunity, silver lining. One more.
I don't have to go to work.
No work, I get the day off. Great. So here, you're getting a bit of perspective, aren't you? And you're thinking things through in a more rational way, and you're starting to look for silver linings. Good stuff. What emotional state does this create for you? What are you feeling when you're saying this to yourself? I can do it. I'm in control. Oh, you're reassured. You feel calm. Yes. And what happens when you feel calm in a situation like that? You think rationally, right? Executive functions are switched on. You can think it through. So what might be some of the actions you take?
Responsibility.
You might say, I'm so sorry, that was entirely my fault. You take accountability for it. You say, okay, this is what we need to do. I need X, Y, Z from you. This needs to happen. Sure, you're going to be annoyed. You might be a bit flustered, but that stuff's normal. That's all within the realms of a normal reaction to a bit of a blip in your day. But given this state, if this happened on the way here today, how would you be feeling now sitting here with me? You'd be in the moment. Probably not much different from how you're feeling now. You've put it in perspective, you've put it behind you, you've dealt with the practicalities of the little accident and you've moved on. What about our other frame? If that had happened and you're sitting here with me right now, how are you feeling? You're probably not even hearing it. Right. You're not taking it in, you're probably a million miles away, and you're probably feeling pretty stressed. So what does this activity show you?
You have a choice.
Thank you. You have a choice. So yes, you have those 60,000 automatic thoughts coming up every day, and yes, most of them are negative, but you don't have to be a slave to your thoughts. Just because you think something doesn't mean you have to believe it. This is your brain playing tricks on you. It's your old brain that's no longer relevant to you today. So as smart, intelligent, empowered people, we have the opportunity to intervene at that break point to say, no,